you were kind of talking about like, setting milestones and things like that. Like when do you know to cut somebody loose? Like, you like you said, you're giving them the trial tasks, or you're giving them milestones and they're not hitting them, or, what kind of, where do you think, where do you draw the line and say, hey, thanks, but no thanks?
Yeah, so I try to eliminate the personal side of it. It's all business. And again, I want to look at it as an investment. And the number one question is, how much have I actually invested into this person? And not just money, but time. If I'm just starting with someone and they're not hitting deadlines or not communicating, maybe I'm giving them feedback or taking it personally, which shows they don't have the attitude I'm looking for. And we can kind of talk about my attitude of skill, or my triangle of skill, attitude, and communication later. But if they're showing those red flags early and I haven't invested much time into them, they're out. I'm not going to take that risk. There's always a chance they turn it around, but the percentages say otherwise. Now, if I've invested 6 months into someone and all of a sudden their work starts to go downhill, I'm going to meet with them. I'm going to say, hey man, like, what's going on? Here's some brutally honest feedback. I want to know if I can get to the bottom of it. I'm going to pause all work. I'm going to take a step back, reset expectations, make sure we're on the same page. And if we can't leave a meeting 100% on the same page, then I'm going to cut ties with them, but normally you can. And then from there, either they're going to take off and get back on track, or I'm going to hire someone else and I'm going to slowly start taking stuff off their plate. And one of two things is going to happen again. Either that light bulb is going to go off that, hey, I'm losing work, and they turn it around, or eventually they're not you're not as reliant, your business isn't as reliant on them anymore because you've slowly taken everything off their plate. So that's kind of my mentality. And obviously every situation is a little different and it's case by case. But for me, I'm looking on how much did I actually invest into this person, and that's going to tell me how much leeway I give them.
And I completely agree with that. The problem that I've had in the past is that, I agree with, in the beginning, when you haven't invested much time and effort, that it's easy to like let someone go. But, and I like your triangle of skill, attitude, and commitment, and what you do upfront. That's really awesome. But I think what a lot of people struggle with is, okay, this person is doing great work and then all of a sudden they quit on me, or they're giving their time to somebody else during work hours for me. And you find that out later and you're very frustrated. Or for example, being a consultant, I'll look at people's PPC campaigns and they have hired a supposed expert. And these are not good numbers. They're not good metrics. And so they're paying top dollar for that high level expert. And because of their, maybe it's something they're not good at, right? So you want to hire it out, but then they find out, oh, wow, I paid for all this and I've lost all this money in advertising spend, and this person actually doesn't know what they're doing. So it's a tough balance. But my question for you, Nathan, would be, what are the things that the freelancers are telling you that are their frustrations? What are we not doing right as employers?
Yeah, right. And yeah, I think the number one thing is like when you're dealing with a freelancer, I almost tell people like, you're not an employer, you're a client, and it's very different. It's got to be a much more collaboration than having a boss that's just talking down to you. And I think that's one of the things that the freelancers will say is like, especially, if you're dealing with the lower level freelancer, there's direction. But when you're dealing with a mid-level graphic designer that knows what they're doing, there's got to be that collaborative effort. And same thing with the experts. If you're hiring them with their 20 years of experience, or let's say it's PPC and they have 3 years of experience and they have this strategy that's working for 10 other clients, and you come in and you're like, hey, use my strategy, then something wrong with that. So a lot of it comes down to using those different levels, having collaboration, and just setting those expectations up front. And the expectations are so important. If you get on the same page with someone early and you've really laid it out black and white, it's very easy to tell once it starts getting off track, even a little bit. And you can, even from a freelancer side, you can take a step back and be like, hey, listen, I'm pausing work. Like, let's have a meeting. Let's get back on the same page. This is what we talked about before. I have it in writing. And I encourage clients to do that same thing. I mean, we had a situation today, very good client, very good virtual assistant, not really on the same page for whatever reason. And we had a 10-minute meeting where it was like, hey, air your concerns. Hey, air your concerns. Let's reset expectations, Can we all agree to these things in writing? Let me know if anything there is not what we want to be. They both agree to, and you move forward. And I think a lot of people, they just keep going forward. And sometimes it can be the freelancer's fault too, where they give an inch, they give another inch, and it just keeps going in that spiraling out of control direction. And you really just got to take that step back.